Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and today I'm covering something a little bit different. The last time I covered something CoH3 related, it was the Gamescom trailer. Now I'm going to be jumping into the IGN first videos, two of them specifically the campaign as well as the mission variety video that they covered. Now, before I do that, quick shout out because I have a tournament going on right now, Clash of the Conscripts. Unfortunately, due to one of the final teams having an issue, that final battle is actually going to be on the 17th rather than today at 9 a.m. Central Time. It's going to be on the 17th at 9 a.m. Central Time, at least, hopefully. If there's another big change, I'll let you guys know. But at least want to point that out if you want to catch an awesome 4v4 battle between highly competitive teams with over $1,300 prize pool at odds or at stake, then check that out. But anyway, let's check out this, piece of media that IGN put out. It is CoH3 related, I will point that out, and it is this one, the very first one is the campaign. And it covers the two different aspects of the campaign, detailing, and I'm just going to mute it because I do not want a copyright, or I don't want the, what was the terminology? People talking over while I'm trying to talk. But anyway, I do recommend you go check it out via IGN first. If you want to go, and I don't mean check out IGN first. I mean, check it on IGN first. Jesus, that's not confusing whatsoever. Point is, IGN put this together with Relic, so if you want to check out the full video without my commentary, go on ahead. But with the pretty much the campaign, we have, of course, the two. The first one being Italy, which is going to be the slow, not slow, well, kind of. It's essentially going to be you controlling these companies and controlling them up this large map and trying to take control of Italy. And then when you engage in other armor groups, such as here, we have this like 221 and armor group. Essentially, that's going to be representing infantry and armor groups in specific companies that the Germans have versus your companies and battling over Italy. On the far left, of course, we have the objectives, and they change as, I'm assuming, the war progresses. So in this situation, you're trying to break a defensive line, and you're trying to get through. We saw in the pre-alpha trying to get to Monte Cassino. I don't know if it's going to go all the way to the start of Sicily. I would assume, at the very least, it would start in some capacity, although I'd be curious if maybe it started before then, or if they maybe have something. For those who don't know, there were Italian islands that were invaded before Sicily that could maybe be a precursor. Of course, you have the Battle of Tunisia that happened, so I'm assuming if we're starting, maybe it's there, but it could also start in Sicily. Whatever the point is, this interactive map, right, is going to have your companies, your air force, your naval forces that you build up, make, etc., trying to break this line. Now, something they bring up is this. So essentially, it's loyalty. You have three different groups that you're going to be loyal to. Of course, you have the partisans of Italy trying to get back their country from German occupation after Italy. Well, I'm actually kind of curious on that, because if it starts in Sicily, you could theoretically fight some Italian forces, which again could be very interesting, especially for the Wehrmacht that is there. But then anyway, eventually it does turn into a situation where Italy surrenders, has a brief skirmish with Germany, but unfortunately is unable to hold them back as they take over the country, and all sorts of stuff happens during that time. Meanwhile, of course, we have the British and the American forces trying to also put pressure in their own separate ways. Of course, the British being, I believe, a little bit more cautious in their approach, while the Americans are gun-ho and typically are more aggressive, as you saw with the invasion of Sicily. And again, a lot of this information I take from Armchair Historian, which actually, again, funny enough, if I scroll down and move this over a little bit, he actually posted a comment here, which is very fair representation of Rommel, and the Dock-led Relic isn't afraid of pushback that comes from including a German campaign. So very cool in that regard. But anyway, so when I look over these, I always like little stuff, things like that. But anyway, as we continue, again, if you do stuff for them, assuming side objectives, everything else like that, you're able to gain abilities, gain perks, etc. from those missions, which is great. I think it's a really cool way to at least make it different per campaign. So it's like, let's focus on the British one. This time we'll focus on the partisan one. And they say it does impact the campaign emissions. We'll get to that in a moment. But again, we have a company. So every company that you control across the map, this is what you can do. So you have abilities, upgrades, and units. And again, I do like this layout. I think it's a pretty good overall UI to get everything done. Now, again, for this armored company, we have the Stuart, 75mm howitzer, recovery vehicle. We have a seek and destroy, which is usually if you do it on a target, in this case, resistance and recon. I'm assuming maybe has it's easier to kill, or recon you can spot it and you can have sight on it. Increases the speed and combat performance of all vehicles in the field for a limited time. Oh, okay, so yeah, it recon sight, and this is defense. Okay, cool. And then Sherman Combat Group is, I'm assuming, a Sherman you get, and double up means 2. And then 240mm howitzer, it gets precision salvos, which means when you call it in, it goes right down the middle, which is a problem in CoH2. Glad, again, they have that option. And innumerable salvos, so I'm assuming it's just more. But again, different ways you can upgrade, and as you can see here, there's lots of different abilities, so you could be trying to focus on all these different things to try to get your best loadout, the best company that for a very specific task. So it says this level 23 for this company. Okay, that's interesting that they can get that high. It is day 30 of the invasion, so I can definitely see if a company has survived numerous battles that they could easily keep ranking up. We saw in the Ardennes assault campaign where enough battles that go on could definitely attrition your men. I'm curious to see if that happens as well, where if you do that so much, maybe it's all fresh recruits. Again, kind of curious to see how they deal with like veterancy and if it can be worn down. And we can see here, again, some things as well. So when you complete a mission, you get rewards. That's cool. But also brings in the what you can bring in. I will say one negative I have about this is right now, a lot of this is using similar UI to CoH2. I'm just being fair. A lot of the UI, like icons, stuff like that, is very similar to CoH2. Now, here's a good idea of the map. And again, if you've played the pre-alpha, then you know some of these areas, right? Like, I know that airfield. I know Naples, of course, and the airfield that is right next to it. But this other area, unless I'm mistaken, was sectioned off. You could not play in this area. So it is cool to see from a top-down view. Also, I like the fact you get this awesome perspective, right? That if you can pull on out. Which it looks like that is, at the very least, an option, or at the very least is the case, which, again, really cool that you can get that sort of dynamic, like, scope of the war. I think that is just awesome. Especially, like, showing how the battles are. What would also be awesome, and this is just me, is if you could have battles against the Germans, lose, and the Germans actually be like, wait a second, this sector is open to attack, we can push. Now, I know the Wehrmacht, generally speaking, in Italy is on the defensive. There are occasions where they are on the offensive, but it's much more common for the Germans in Italy to be defensive because that they're trying to hold the Allies. Though, again, there are some situations like attacking beaches or other areas that they do push forward, or they do try to counterattack. So, curious to see if the AI itself could find like a hole in your line and counterattack. That would be cool, especially in harder difficulty. Also, we can see here again all the different units on the bottom left-hand corner, air forces that you can call in, and naval assets. And we see naval asset here, which I believe one of them is the ability for a naval invasion. If we go back to, let's see, here we go. Here, we can see here that's advanced landing fields as well. Or again, with the British, you get amphibious operations. The fact you could be like, okay, let's see. Maybe we can initiate a naval invasion here, and we can try to supply and try to cut off the Germans. Again, I like the idea of the player having their own ability to coordinate the naval invasion, etc. Because a lot of people are like, well, I would have done this. Well, this game's giving you that option. And I'm curious to see how that gets pulled off. Also, again, we can see here, I do think maybe some of the repeated icon pictures as well could be a little bit Not annoying, just I feel like I wish there was maybe a little bit more variety of the faces, but generally speaking, artillery, I got that. Now, if I recall correctly, the Indians had the artillery unit, and then you had a couple things. It was the American Airborne and Armored, and it was a British Armored with a Churchill, and then the British, but with Indian units fighting in the area. Let's see if we continue on. We can see, or at least the icons look different. Now, that I know that's a Black Prince based on a long barrel. Short barrel is the base Churchill, which is there. And then we have this, but... Oh, yeah, we have these two pieces of artillery and fortifications. I'm curious to see how the fortifications are used. From what it's later shown, that these fortifications and missions can directly impact naval assets and cause issues for them. So I'm, again, kind of curious to see just how they play. So very cool, very cool to see, especially with like big defensive lines, right? So here's another thing that is curious to see as well, right? Is, for example, this is Monte Cassino, right? This is brought up multiple times, being like, okay, this is in the pre-alpha, your final mission, but there wasn't that. It was like a generic mission. It wasn't the actual mission. Well, here it's like, okay, if you bomb it using air or naval assets, well, it's destroyed. Or you can try to take it and not be historical and try to fight without it being there. Now, in real life, the Germans were sort of there, not really. But then once it was bombed, the Germans were like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, the presence in Monte Cassino for the Germans was highly inflated, which caused it to be bombed, and a lot of Italians really did not like that aspect. But it did, at the very least, bring a lot of attention to the preservation of historical sites as much and other very special cultural significant areas in Europe. I know it's not a great movie. It's not even an okay movie. I kind of just as passable, but like The Monuments Men. I like the idea of that movie. I just wish it was way better, especially with all the actors in it. And okay, so here's the main game that we brought up that it's showcasing. And again, this is in Italy. Now, again, these icons we'll see here is repeated multiple times with a bunker, a tank, and an artillery piece. I know those icons from CoH2. I'm fine if they're in CoH3, but I really wanted them to give a brand new sleet of assets to them. It's because this game is, again, roughly 9 years apart from CoH2 that I wish they would have updated that stuff, especially because I quite enjoy the 3D the 3D art that they are currently bringing in. Don't get me wrong, my favorite art is 2D, and again, that's like Broly compared to Dragon Ball Super Superhero. But the point is, I still like all the new stuff in Superhero. Even if I like Broly's more, I don't want them to repeat everything from Broly. If that makes sense. If my weird analogy hopefully makes sense. So, again, I like the idea of having your choices in the Italian campaign will have ramifications, both positively and negatively. So I want to know how many missions that will actually be, and how that would be possibly detrimental to you, right? Like, if you don't take a port, will the Germans then be able to solidify the port further with additional fortifications, like this thing that just murdered the British? Also, again, the verticality of pushing up that hill, I'm very curious to see how that actually plays, as, again, compared to CoH2, because that's a pretty goddamn high vertical incline right there. So, again, curious to see how that actually goes. Couple other things is the dock. All right, so the dock campaign is the single, more linear campaign, right? It's the one that's like, okay, mission, done. And I'm assuming the basic principle is the start of the German offensive in 42 in North Africa, ending in Alamein, or somewhere in that vicinity. It's either El Alamein will be the final battle, or it's going to go back to Tunisia. Whatever the case may be, I expect that's going to be the dock. El Alamein is more climactic for me, because, at least in my head, Tunisia, again, the Germans surrender, but I could easily see that being its own separate battle, because then you have the Americans coming in, and if this is a German campaign, you kind of want to be, I'm not limited, but usually, like, for example, in CoH1, the campaign itself dealt with the Normandy invasion all the way to the False Pocket, right? It didn't really include, unless I'm mistaken, the Battle of Paris or anything else, right? It dealt eventually, if it dealt with some other stuff with some secondary DLC like Market Garden, but that was a separate DLC, right? So I'm very curious to see where it ends and how many missions that you'll actually have in there. Now, what they do hint in this, which I find interesting, is the fact of bringing Rommel, right? And I think they have a picture of Rommel. It's somewhere over here. There he is. Okay, so the idea is, hey, you're part of the dock. The Germans are currently trying to get through North Africa and currently are opposed to any force that's in their way. You better be on their side. And if you don't exactly care for them, too bad, because they're going to ravage your homeland. So they bring up the idea of the German impact in the regions and how it kind of affects them, and how the Germans then in turn, retaliate against the people in the area. And I do find that interesting because, again, a lot of people are like, well, I just want Company of Heroes battles. But if the single player does show, even in this campaign, which, again, Allied propaganda after World War II made this whole theater a lot more clean than it actually was, and they state this in here, which I'm just using their terminology. I'm curious to see how dark they are going to go and how brutal they will show the Germans, even in the what's supposed to be the friendlier terms, because, again, they're still Germans, and the Germans did a lot of fucked up shit during World War II, which a lot of people like to ignore, but it is very important to realize that if you're playing a German campaign, you should expect to you're probably going to experience that. So I do like that they are just embracing that, and they're like, hey, we're going to play this campaign, you're going to show this aspect of the war, but don't expect this to be all good, all jolly good and dandy for the Germans. No, that's not how this is going to go. So I give them credit for that, because some games might just sugarcoat that. Now, I will say this. They could do it tastefully, or they could maybe misfire on the approach. The trailer, though CGI, I think had good intention, just wasn't as well done. Now, that being said, it's way better than the Co movie, and way better intention than that. So again, for people saying that was the worst Co live action thing, I have that Blu-ray for a goddamn reason. It's like watching Dragon Ball Evolution. It's like it's an accomplishment that you made it through. But anyway, I do appreciate that. Now, I will say the fact that they have a Stug in North Africa during this time, not as historically accurate, but I don't mind, as long as it's a fun campaign. That's what I'm interested in. It's a fun, interesting, hell, I'll take a dramatic campaign, as long as it is a memorable campaign. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what these close set of missions are supposed to be. So I also hope this is maybe a little bit more difficult, because I'm assuming I'm very curious to see how they're going to take this. Is this going to be like, if you're playing the campaign, this is a good introduction, right? And then you jump into Italy? Or is this going to be the, like, this is for hardcore players and good luck, right? This is a brutal set of missions that really test your skills. But anyway, we'll have to see. And again, I'm hopeful for the best. I truly am. But I do like the fact that they are making sure that they address that aspect. But yeah, no. Next up on the next CoH3 trailer that we have to go over is the special missions. And this one is a variety of missions. And I am guessing this is not all of them, because, for example, one of the missions one of the things in the previous trailer in Gamescom was the railway, right? And in this, you don't see the railway at all. So I'm assuming these missions are or some of the variety, but not all of the variety, which I think would be a good thing. So again, I would assume like some things might be attack and defend, but some really cool missions that I thought that was interesting when you play in the Italian campaign was like this, where it's a like stealth mission almost, but you have a certain amount of units. You're trying to bust on through, kill as many Germans as you can, take out a target, and get out. It almost reminds me of like a Hitman. Is it Hitman Absolution, where it's like at no, because I know the newest Hitman, right? The newest Hitman is at the Paris theater. Although it does kind of remind me of that, maybe the courtyard of it. But anyway, point is, you move in with your troops, limited amount, limited resources. You go in. If you kill them, great. If you don't, guess what? You lose. I get it. And you also have a time limit before more troops arrive. Oh, you know what? Actually, better explanation, XCOM. XCOM is a way better idea for this because, again, you have a target, you move in, kill target, get out before all the aliens show up. XCOM 2 to be specific. So again, I think that's a really cool mission because it's like, okay, what units do I have? All right, these are proficient in this areas. All right, this map is like this. All right, terrain-wise, we can do recon. All right, now we have to navigate through. That's a really cool idea because a lot of times, like, stealth is like the sniper mission, and I find those okay. The fact there is a time limit where it's like, go, 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 move, quickly kill these units, and get out. I find that, at least for me, a little bit more interesting. Next up, we have another mission where this one is, let's see, I believe, oh yeah, this one's the fortifications. This one's like, hey, there's fortifications on this side. You have to destroy them to help out with the amphibious landings and allow naval assets to move in. And unfortunately, yeah, you're fighting in a fortified German area, so they're going to show later, like a lot of these Churchills and other armored units really having a rough time. And by the way, so I know that we can confirm Churchill heavy tank. So there'll be a Black Prince, right? Which will be a call-in. I am making an assumption. Again, I wish these icons were updated. Yeah, no, there's going to be your base Churchill that you can deploy, which is solid. Actually, I'm curious. So this is 2160, and the Black Prince is also 2160. So both Churchills require the exact same amount of XP to upgrade. And the heavy is effective at medium and long ranges, while the other Sherman is effective at close and medium ranges. Okay, interesting. Point is, cool that again you have more variety of armor that at least you can deploy. Yes, I know about the Black Prince in terms of its historical accuracy. I have a video that I'm trying to make, and hopefully we'll have that out soon. That kind of covers that aspect. But anyway, it is cool that you're going to be fighting in this fortified region, and you'll be dealing with that, such as ambushes, German armor coming out of the woodwork to try to push you back. Yeah, and now again, it seems like this is more of a slow clearing of it, but remember, something to keep in mind is each of your companies has only certain amounts of health, so if you take heavy losses here, I could easily see you win, but then the Germans just come in and just push you out. So just something to keep in mind where it's like, yeah, you might just be destroy the coastal guns, but there's that overall sense of, hey, you still need to do good because otherwise your company is not going to be able to continue its assault. So that's cool. Also, the fact you can zoom in and look at that model. That looks pretty good. I'm very excited for it. Again, one thing I think would be cool is if they had a photo mode or something that you could get a good shots of the armor, explosion, stuff like that. That's just me. But anyway, next up we have another mission. This one is a rescue mission where you have to get a captain that fell on a plane. That looks like interesting. Oh god, yeah. So it looks like crashed, funny, into a house, and then you have partisans fighting alongside, which is really cool. I like the fact there's actually partisans fighting, and you have the American forces coming on in for this raid, trying to get to the captain as quickly as possible, destroying the German units. There's a health bar, so again, you only have so much time and health before it just completely falls apart. Now, in this mission, apparently the guy playing it said it was really difficult and he lost because he tried to move up and defend the region, but he should have pushed for the German base, which I find, again, fascinating in that area. It's like, oh, I lost. The captain died, but maybe I can try this other way because I wasn't the best on defense with what I had. Again, pretty cool. Again, at least decent variety. But anyway, it is also interesting to see how it goes, right? With, wait, I just realized, Corporal Joe Conte. As someone, wait, hold on. But, hold on. Hold on. Am I, maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I am. But isn't that the same, and again, this is me. Joe Conte is a non-commissioned officer served in Able Company in, oh my god. We got Joe Conte, oh, Jesus. Okay, so yeah, that's Corporal Joe Conte. He's in the Rangers, and First Sergeant, Second Lieutenant. Okay, so that's in CoH1, so there we go. Also played by Neil McDowell in the Company of Heroes movie. Hot damn. I can... Okay, note to self, I can have a reference. Alright, anyway, so that's cool. That's definitely some, at least, connective tissue between CoH1 and CoH2. Sorry, I missed that. I'm glad I paused on that. Okay, so, alright. There's some confirmation, guys. There is a connective tissue between CoH1 and CoH3, at the very least. Now, anyway, and I really... Okay, one aspect I will say, I wish if they can give him more character, or at least the characters that were in CoH1, more character in CoH3, great. That would be amazing, because CoH1, I played that campaign. The mission variety is great. The overall, you know, I like the tactics overall, and I like the units overall, but the story and the cinematics were great. The story and characters were something that I just didn't really interest me at all. Like, compared to World in Conflict, I felt the characters were very flat. But hopefully, if they're bringing these characters back, hopefully they give them a fresh coat of paint and it's something more interesting. Because it seemed to be, they repeat a lot of the aspects from Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, which is fine for 2006. But yeah, we're in 2022, and there's been plenty of good World War II stories since that time period and beyond, especially in the strategy game department, so hopefully they can continue. Anyway, so those were the different missions, and they say there's more, which is good. I want there to be plenty of mission variety, but at the very least, because again, more mission variety means different ways you can play the game, different aspects to play those different missions, which hopefully is just increase the fun factor. But what do you guys think? At least for me, going over all of this. At the very least, hopefully I maybe point some stuff out that you guys find fascinating, or at the very least, I at least gave my decent commentary on it. But let me know. This has been Greyshot17, and I will see you guys next time, when I definitely will talk about the Black Prince. I swear the next CoH3 video will be about the Black Prince. So see you guys then. Hello everyone, before you all go, let's give a special shout out to Patreon supporters: Aphyria, Joey G240, Little Chauge, Milam, tonybee, Pyroshark, XSomeToolx, and Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support and helping me grow my channel and allowing me to keep doing what I do. So thank you. This has been Greyshot, his amazing patrons, and I'll see you all next time.